So far, Vikram Shandareskaram. I'm sure I'm butchering his last name, but he's won an Amazon gift card. So there's a good reason to fill out those session evaluations in addition to helping out that great charity that we spoke about yesterday. Okay, our next session is going to be talking about the new public cloud, open, developer-focused, and business grade. Here to lead this next session, we have Biri Singh. He is Senior Vice President and General Manager over HP Cloud Services. Please join me in welcoming Biri Singh.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning. My name's Biri Singh. I'm with Hewlett-Packard. I am going to spend a little bit of time with you this morning talking about two things. Give you a view into how HP looks at what we call hybrid delivery of cloud. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about the HP public cloud and the set of services that we're working on. It's currently in private beta, and we'll be rolling it out later this year. So thanks for taking the time. I appreciate you spending your mid-morning with us. Let me walk you through things. So the way we think about hybrid delivery, a couple of things I want to sort of cover here. HP has a set of cloud solutions. We've actually been in market and been quite active on sort of the traditional on-premise private cloud space for the last few years and have been reasonably successful driving our converged infrastructure story, which is all about server storage networking. We actually serve, I think, 8 of the top 10 most traffic sites. We sell gear to 4 out of the 5 top search engines. We sell gear to the top 3 social networking sites. So we understand the concept of scale out. We've done a lot of work in innovation and driving core infrastructure. And converged infrastructure, which is something HP innovated, has essentially sort of become an industry category that most vendors are sort of adopting and following today. So it's on the strength of that that we've sort of started thinking about hybrid delivery. And when we say hybrid delivery, it's really about spanning a set of solutions across sort of 3 main areas. One is an on-premise private cloud approach, and we've got a set of solutions there. The other is what we call managed cloud, which is essentially managed services, which we're delivering through our services organization. So this can be anything from standing up environments, whether it's an SAP environment over 6 months for a customer that's got to burst out or has a certain demand spike, or it's running Exchange servers for customers, or it's doing large-scale outsourcing. And then finally, there's a public cloud, which is sort of the new effort, and I'll spend a little bit of time sharing with you what we're doing there as well. So across this, the way we think about hybrid delivery is you have to be actually able to not only span the 3 environments. We don't talk about hybrid cloud. Hybrid clouds are what customers have. Hybrid environments are what customers deal with. As an IT vendor, it's our responsibility to deliver across a mixed environment. And so we're working on solutions. So the way we do that is actually focusing on 3 layers. So infrastructure transformation is an important piece. Application transformation, application lifecycle management, on-premise legacy models to, let's say, a completely loosely coupled web services model driven out in a public internet-based cloud. So managing for that is a fairly important focus for us. We're spending a lot of time thinking through that part. And then finally, information. So infrastructure, application, and information, both structured and unstructured. We acquired a company called Autonomy that does quite a bit of unstructured information for the enterprise, and sort of bringing that together. So the point on hybrid delivery for us is across multiple environments, but also up and down, if you will, the stack, the complete stack, infrastructure, applications, and information. And then the third thing that I want to point out is orchestration here, and I call it orchestration with the big O. And simple ways, the way we describe it, it's sort of service provisioning your environment, standing it up, tearing it down, and managing it, and having quality of service around it. Orchestration is a huge deal, and we're spending a lot of time sort of figuring this part out, getting smart on it. We think in order to be successful for both enterprise, ISVs, developers, IT ops focus, having a solid orchestration model that not only deals with VMs, but really application services, runtimes, databases, and information is critical. So for us at HP, we're spending a lot of time getting getting organized in dealing with being able to manage across these environments up and down, and orchestration is a big part of what we're focused on. So that's sort of a high-level grounding on what hybrid delivery looks like for HP. Let me spend a bit of time, and actually I'll point out one other thing here. What we've seen most enterprises take on is there's sort of two things going on here. One is enterprises that have arrived at it from a highly virtualized environment. You get to 70–80% virtualization, and you're dealing with a lot of automation and control over your environment. And then they look to try to move up the stack into sort of a self-service effort. And it's very different. If you're trying to actually implement a cloud environment, reconciling that to a virtualized environment leaves you with a few choices. Tends to be a lot of lock-in, but you also end up managing very different environments. The panel earlier on, you heard a few of the panelists talk about some of the challenges there. If you're trying to implement a cloud-like environment on sort of the right-hand side of this slide, you're dealing with things like self-service at both infrastructure and applications. And you're typically trying to tie that back to some level of control, whether it's your LDAP directory for your users, or using your users to be able to tie back your modeling, your service provisioning model. It gives you sort of a more secure governance model to be able to implement to. And finally, when you get out to the right side, you're really trying to be the true model of a services broker, which is deliver the right service at the right time, and then be able to be efficient with the way you'd manage your infrastructure and how you run your sort of IT operations for the business. So we're spending a lot of time essentially taking our hybrid delivery model and saying, as you start your journey from sort of virtualization, there tends to be a stop, and you have to have sort of a critical path. So how do you manage both a virtualized driven approach as well as just building quote-unquote clouds, private clouds on-premise, and then extending out to a more of a public cloud service? So back to the slide I had here, hybrid delivery for us really is trying to manage that evolution that we see IT enterprises going through. So that's sort of the basic definition. Let me spend a few minutes on our view of the public cloud. So we've been spending this last year working on delivering the HP public cloud. We'll be in market. We're actually in private beta with the service now. And essentially what we've been focused on is really doing three things and trying to be good at those three things. First of all, we want it to be a business-grade cloud. We're completely convinced that a company like Hewlett-Packard has to deliver an SLA-based cloud, and we will. And we have to provide quality of service that's meaningful. And we think we're spending a fair amount of time on that, not just quality of service, but a secure environment as well. The second thing we're working on is really being open. So we've embraced lots of open source movements. We're building part of the infrastructure on OpenStack. We've worked with higher level cloud services like Cloud Foundry and a lot of other PaaS environments that are also fairly open. We have had the WebOS effort at HP open source recently. We had a big part in driving that part. So we're really trying to be open and be transparent in the way we are building out the infrastructure. And the whole idea is we don't want to push any type of lock-in. And then the third effort is really, it's all about focusing on not just developers, but IT operations. Because in a hybrid delivery model, you have to manage developers, ISVs, enterprises with their lines of businesses and be able to accommodate those needs. So building a unified experience for IT ops traditionally, as well as developers, sort of where we're spending our time. So the HP Cloud Services, what it looks like essentially is we're focusing on these sort of key areas. So the HP public cloud, our infrastructure piece, like I said, it's built on HP converged infrastructure, built on HP software, and we've leveraged the OpenStack environment to sort of get this to market. We've been in private beta for about 4 months and have had a really good response. If you get a chance, I'll send you, go to hpcloud.com, and I'd love to get you to sign on and try it out. The other things we're focusing on, so the idea is not just deliver a core cloud, but really work on 4 key areas that we want to sort of be very good at. So platform as a service, the notion of an ecosystem, hosting workloads, and then orchestration is kind of the key areas, and we bring this together in terms of a marketplace. So for us, for a public cloud service and the set of services above it, what we think is important is to be really good and smart about billing and metering at sort of a core level, really being thoughtful about how we approach orchestration, as I talked about, and then finally using a marketplace as a way to sort of monetize and bring the ecosystem together. That's kind of the high-level approach here. So HP Cloud isn't just about core, compute, and store. It's actually a whole set of services built on top of it. So if I talk about that for just a minute, here's the reference examples of types of ISVs or SaaS companies that we've talked to and are engaged on sort of, a classic use case. And so there's a concept of ISV 2.0 that I like to talk about, which is really about pure SaaS companies or ISVs building next-generation services really are now focused on getting their environments and their applications built out on cloud-like environments. And so a good example here would be Workday, which has a colo and works with a classic MSP. They're now saying we want to actually integrate on a service like HP Cloud and be able to sell and offer their whole HR suite, not only through the HP channel, but obviously be able to take advantage of the types of services we've built in. The PaaS platform that we're sort of working on is fairly open again. We've sort of standardized on Cloud Foundry as kind of the core, sort of the encapsulation layer for the runtime. And we've worked with other partners like an AppFog or ActiveState or CloudBees to actually add value to the various components, whether it's the user experience or it's an IDE or it's a particular type of use case that we're trying to solve for. So our approach in platform is really to give a cloud-based IDE, multiple applications, language, and frameworks, support multiple of those, and that's where sort of Cloud Foundry steps into it. And then have a whole set of management services underneath it, as well as third-party services that we can add value to. And for us, platform, really the key things we're trying to do is really focus on what the runtime and the set of data services behind it really are. Everything else really should be driven through the ecosystem. So that's sort of HP PaaS in a nutshell. We have actually some demos in our exhibition booth out on the exhibition floor. If you're interested, please go take a look. We've done some pretty interesting integrations that will be available later this year. And finally, our ecosystem, again, some reference companies here. We're working with some great partners. But just to give you an idea, the way we approach the ecosystem is really two things. There's technology partners and third-party services we want to enable. So whether it's an Informatica or a New Relic, App Dynamics, or it's a billing partner like Zuora, we want to be able to essentially eat our own food. So as we're working with them, we actually turn that around and offer it as a service available through the marketplace. And then the second category of partners are really our channel and systems integration partners and technology partners we would actually go to market with. So that's sort of a little bit about how we're building out the ecosystem. So marketplace and ecosystem for us go hand in hand. And your platform, in our opinion, is only as good as your ecosystem is vibrant. So we're spending a fair amount of time there, and you'll see HP take quite a stance in building out and actually investing in an ecosystem over the next couple of years. And then finally, as I pointed out, interoperability amongst clouds is a big deal for us. I talked about hybrid delivery, but we fundamentally believe orchestration is about not just managing sort of your bare metal environments. It's about also managing VMs and also managing application services above it. And a great example of that would be to abstract away for a language platform everything else other than the runtime and the database. And as a developer, that's really the only two things you sort of care about. Everything else should be managed. So whether it's auto-scaling or load balancing or billing metering underneath it, those are the types of services we actually feel like we need to be able to offer developers. So our thinking when we come to looking at cloud services is we want to focus on developers, ISVs, developers within enterprises, and offer them choice and offer them as much open environments as possible. So the other thing you'll see from us later this year is the HP Cloud Directory, the HP Cloud API Directory. We're going to publish all of our APIs and actually firmly believe in that code speaks when it comes to sort of being able to talk about, what services we have and what's open and what's available. So that's a little bit about sort of what the HP Cloud services look like, and I tie them back to the hybrid delivery model. So we're really focused on doing an end-to-end where it's an on-premise, mostly enterprise-driven model, and they want to burst out to public services across the internet, but they also want to build out their environments on-premise. We're dealing with managed services or managed hosting, if you will, and a whole set of services around that. And they're dealing with a whole public set of what you typically would call cloud services out there. So that's essentially kind of the time we're spending and the areas we're focused on. As I mentioned, we've got a booth. Would love to show you some demos. We'll be speaking at 4:30 later this afternoon on the floor, and we'll give you sort of a good sort of view on all the different things we're working on here. So if you get a chance, please do go by the HP booth. As I said, we've had a private beta now for a few months. It's done quite well for us. You can go and sign up. We'd love to get your feedback. We'll be going to public beta later this year, and then we'll be rolling out the service sort of on a global level throughout 2012 and 2013. So stay tuned for that. You can follow us online, and would love to get your feedback. Other than that, I'll be available for most of the day here to connect with you, and if there's anything I can help answer after the chat, would love to meet you. Thanks for your time. Right.